So welcome and thank you for your attendance in the morning, on the Friday morning. I think we have a little bit technical topic, but without this topic, no order book, no trading, no issuance, no safekeeping would be possible in the traditional finance world and also in the digital finance world. We have I'm delighted to have two excellent and very competent people here with Stephan and Rowan. And to start with Rowan, Stephan, sorry. Anna is maintaining ISIN since 1992. That's a long way to go in the traditional finance field. What's your perspective? What tokenization is now regarding securities and financial instruments?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So tokenization for me is just another evolution, right? It's about a new technology being applied to the capital markets. So when we look at what is happening with tokenization of financial instruments, and into this whole kind of umbrella of digital assets, it's really just the next step. It's the assets that we're looking at, financial instruments, leaving aside the crypto side, are still the same assets. You've still got bonds, you've still got funds. The nature of them is not changing, and so the needs that you have in the market for identification and classification of those for either regulatory reporting or for data management, risk management, compliance, all those needs are still the same. So that fundamentally hasn't changed. What has changed is the perspective, so from the market on what these things are in terms of new additional risks. And that's where we have, for example, and I'll pass to Rowan then, to talk about the digital token identifier, being able to understand the deployment of these assets on different DLT networks and understanding the technology risk there.
Yeah, great, thank you. Rowan, as a representative of the digital token identifier founded in 1991 or I think it's 2021, only 4 years ago. It's quite new. What makes you complement Anna and not compete with them? And what makes your advantage in the tokenization field?
Sure. So first off, we are definitely not trying to compete with what's already out there with the ISO standard for security identification or with entity identification. This is just another tool in the toolbox for everyone involved in crypto and digital assets. So the DTI, what it does is unambiguously identify a token, any type of token form, using distributed ledger technology. So where you see this working with the other standards that are already out there, it's, for example, if you see a DLT-based security or tokenized money market fund, it has the asset identification already. You'll generally know which entities are involved in that transaction, whether it be the issuer or investors, by knowing the LEI, the legal entity identifier. What we do is identify the tokens at the ledger level to unambiguously identify the token and link it back to those other identifiers. So somebody knows holistically what's going on with these types of tokens, who it belongs to, who the issuer is, and what asset it actually relates to. And that's why we've been working so closely with Anna and other associations like GLIFE as well, to get that mapping to essentially bring, again, that extra tool into the toolbox for everybody to use. So complementary, completely different reference data to facilitate the whole digital asset ecosystem better.
Thank you. Maybe for more transparency, Stephan, how can you explain us, walk us through how a tokenized bond gets an ISIN? What are the main steps for receiving one?
Yeah. So for a tokenized bond to get an ISIN is no different than for a traditional bond to get an ISIN. So Anna has a network of 123 members who are national numbering agencies. That's the NNA in the name there. And they are responsible for the allocation of ISINs for financial and referential instruments in their markets. And so issuers who are already issuing or have been issuing traditional financial instruments for some time will have generally established relationships with those entities, and those entities represent key market infrastructures. So some of our members are exchanges, CSDs, data vendors, central banks, regulators. Ultimately, it's up to the local regulator for a jurisdiction to determine who fulfills that numbering agency function. And so you will go to them. There's a general process of providing information about the instrument that you are looking to obtain an ISIN for. And I would like to point out, so there's a suite of standards that we are responsible for, ISIN being one of them, that focuses on the identification of the asset. But there are other standards that are allocated, such as the CFI code, which is a classification code, or FISN code, which is a descriptive code. And all of these are used together in a complementary way to identify, describe, and classify these instruments. And then now we marry that with the digital token identifier. So if somebody is issuing a tokenized financial instrument, we will work and coordinate with DTIF for that instrument to also then have a DTI, which, as Rowan said, is a technical identifier for the token implementation. And maybe just to elaborate again, we've had a long collaboration with the Global Legal Entity Identifier Foundation, which is issuing the LEI. So there you have a standard for identifying the entity level. And again, that becomes then a whole suite of standards that can be utilized together in a complementary fashion to fulfill a number of different use cases in business operations.
Could I also just add, just taking a step back as well, I know standards might sound really boring and a little basic as well, but if you just look around this room, there are generally ISO standards everywhere. It's kind of like the hidden infrastructure for trust. I'm looking at the fire exit at the back. I'm pretty sure that's an ISO standard for actually being able to get out the doors using the exact signing. I think the projector back here, it probably has some kind of ISO standard for the health implications, so it doesn't take out my eye when I look at it. They're generally everywhere in every type of industry. And what we're doing is just for the financial industry and specifically for the crypto and digital asset industry for the DTI. So they're really everywhere. You just don't really know about it because they generally seem to work pretty well under the hood.
So you're focused on tokens and identifying tokens beyond MiCA and DORA and so on. So what are the advantages to have an NFT and to get your identifying?
Yeah, so the DTI, it's really for any type of token implementation. We support security tokens, for example, anything tokenized or natively issued, like DLT bonds, tokenized money market funds. It can also be used as the underlier for crypto derivatives, for example, and ETPs is just another way of saying, yes, this is what's in my fund, or etc. We also cover stablecoins and also the wider crypto universe. NFTs has been also brought in the version 2 of the ISO standard, and it's really just another way of everybody to unambiguously point at a certain token with precision, talking in an ecosystem by just using an identified code that links back to all the reference data behind it. It's really a simple barcode at the end of the day.
Thank you, great. Stephan, we talked about upfront the meeting about you have 120 members or associated members now, so a worldwide institution, and that's remarkable. Just this question, why is it not more? Why are still countries not have ANA as a agency?
Yeah, so we covered the main capital markets. So as you said, 123 numbering agencies globally. That number continues to grow by a handful every year. There are a lot of countries out there which have underdeveloped capital markets, a lot of islands, Pacific islands, other countries for whatever reason, we won't go into political reasons, may not make sense to be involved in global capital markets. But we have changed the model over the last few years. So for example, DTI Foundation is now also a member of ANA. While they do not represent a specific jurisdiction, which has been the historical principle that we've had, we have looked at identifying scopes of activity. So we have, for example, another institution called the Derivative Service Bureau, which is the numbering agency for OTC derivatives globally. DTI Foundation, in addition to the work that they do with DTI allocation, focuses also, or we've designated them as a numbering agency for ISIN for crypto assets. So you have now ISINs for Bitcoin, for Tether, et cetera, all the stable coins. And that is part of, again, a seamless process that we've tried to implement to create efficiency in getting assets and tokens and ISIN and the DTI at the same time. But we continue to grow. The landscape is changing. A lot of jurisdictions are cropping up, which are not geographical jurisdictions, but we've seen the birth of free trade zones, and that becomes then another opportunity for us to look at organizations to bring in to fulfill that function in those markets.
Thank you. What about DTIF and the development on your field? Is it quite new agency and department?
In terms of uptake and what's going on? Yeah, so I guess in general, when, for example, regulators or market infrastructure or any new player really wants to enter a field, generally the step one is, okay, how do I manage my data and how do I transfer this data? If there's an ISO standard for it, that's generally what organizations do, just because everyone's quite familiar with the open ISO governance structure and it's there, open and available to just use and pick up. You generally don't need to compete on these types of data elements to build your own product or service. So regulators have been picking up the DTI for additional transparency and understanding what's going on in the market as well. For example, the DTI is the key crypto ID under MiCA. Both ESMA and the FCA are also looking at the DTI to complement the ISIN as part of their MiFIR reviews for financial instruments that are DLT based. And I guess at a more global scale, the OECD, there's a crypto asset reporting framework that's also looking to leverage the DTI as just that key crypto identifier, so everybody can be speaking the same language when crypto brokers or other participants just in the whole ecosystem are talking about specific cryptocurrencies or stablecoins or any other DLT-based financial instrument. Then I guess there's market infrastructure. When they're creating innovative products using DLT, or they want to offer DLT-based financial instruments, they can leverage both the ISIN and the LEI discussed before, and also the DTI. It's just another data element that everyone's starting to pick up. I didn't mention as well, but data vendors are also starting to leverage this for the enhanced insights, so everybody can actually understand what the insight is about in the cryptocurrency space.
Thank you. Stephan, we heard a lot about financial market regulation like MiCA, like DORO, like on the banking side. What could help you? Which regulation, which legal clarity could help you on the ISIN field to make it more binding that every digital asset has an identifier? What could be a main field for you on the legal clarity? Is it only on the financial market side, or is it on the legal basis of the tokens, which lacks in many countries, that they have no legal clarity, that the token is transferable, that the token is when you get lost, that you have civil and property rights on tokens? Is this a field that can improve?
Yeah, I would say the legal basis so we're agnostic basically to regulation. So the function of identifiers is really about acknowledging their existence and being able to uniquely identify them. Regulation becomes one use case for the identifiers. But where I think your question leads to is less about the identification of the asset, because once we've identified, and this is the approach that we've taken as we've evolved the ISIN standard to be applicable to crypto assets and digital assets more broadly, and then again complementing that with the DTI identifier, is the classification standards that we have. And so that, I think, becomes then a mechanism for regulators to better understand, and we have this, by the way, already in MiFID in Europe, where CFI is required for transaction reporting to understand particularly what type of instrument something is. You know, obviously you have very simple classification, bond, stock, and whatnot, but then you also have many different structured products. You've got things like preference shares could fall legally to equity or debt, depending on certain aspects. So I think the same thing then applies for all of those traditional financial instruments. That classification scheme would still apply, but work that still needs to be done, and this is important to acknowledge, is that classification scheme being rolled out and expanded to include crypto assets.
I'm conscious that I haven't also given like examples, I guess, on where we kind of see these identifiers together. So, for example, if you're wanting to deal with, everyone knows Benji, Franklin Templeton's tokenized money market fund. If you want to deal with collateral mobility, if you want to manage your collateral, if you want to use the tokenized money market fund as a variation margin or something like that in the future, which Franklin Templeton Benji do you actually want to use? There are actually 3 domiciles of Benji. So there's one in the Virgin Islands with a Virgin Island ISIN. There's a US ISIN domiciled in the US, and there's also Luxembourg domiciled with a special Luxembourg identifier as well. If you want to just accept the collateral of the Luxembourg domicile on Stellar, then you know exactly which Benji you're going to use if you use the ISIN of Luxembourg and the DTI of the Stellar implementation of that asset in that collateral mobility move. And that's the specificity that you get with these identifiers. You can't really do it any other way.
Thank you. Just some short words at the end. A radio strategy until 2030. What's your main focus until 2030 at ANA?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, there's no end game in the evolution of the capital markets, and that's something a lot of these panels, like, are we making progress? Are we not making progress? It's going to keep going, right? Everything and things are going to catch up. Technology is going to far outpace everything else. It's going to outpace regulation. It's going to outpace the work that we do with standards. So, on the one side, the raising the education and awareness around the existence of these standards, promoting the adoption and implementation of the standards is an ongoing effort, and we'll continue to see that and work on that and continuing to evolve the standards. The marketplace is going to change, so we have to make sure that the standards are fit for purpose, that the use cases continue to evolve for the standards. And I would say, as I touched on before, we still have a lot of work to do in the classification standards.
Rowan, just some short remindings. I read about your strategy as well, and I remember that 10,000 DTIs are a goal from you. So you reached not 10, you reached 20,000?
No, a number isn't really our main goal. The main goal is to make sure if somebody wants a DTI for a certain token, we can facilitate that. It's not really a numbers game for us. It's about quality and usability. But I think the main thing for us is there's a whole lot of collaboration. There'll be announcements coming out again. But for us, distribution is the big key. We're going to be distributing more on the traditional rails, which financial institutions, getting more involved in Web3 and tokenization. They'll be leveraging the ISIN plus the DTI route traditionally, but also we're looking more at pushing this onto the blockchain, so it's also there in the Web3 space. Right now we're centralized, but the sky is the limit in terms of where we can distribute this to for usability in the future.
So thank you. Thank you both for your insights and the clarifications. Thank you for listening, and we wish you a nice and fruitful day. Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Give it up for our opening fireside chat.